Hello, everybody. Welcome to Moment of Clarity viewer questions. We're going to get into some of your questions here. As always, if you leave a comment, then you'll be entered to possibly win a free download of my comedy special from LeeCampComedySpecial.com. And at the end of this episode, I will announce a winner from last week or the week before, whenever it was, because I think last week got kind of busy. We didn't get a chance to do this, to have our back and forth. That is more forth than back. But also, thanks for all the kind words about the recent live show warm-up. I'm going to keep saying words till some of them kind of fit in place. Dog, whistle, car, elephant, show warm-up, redacted tonight. I did the live warm-up thing for Redacted Night, the pre-show, and we put it on air there for you guys to watch, and a lot of you really enjoyed it. You seemed to really like it, so I'm going to try and keep doing it and keep putting it out there for you. So if you do like it, please leave a comment about that. But let's get to some of these questions. So these first ones are about the auto worker video I did recently for the strike going on against GM, because GM, motherfuckers. Because they're a corporate entity, so their job, their goal in life, the entire premise of their function is to see just how much they can fuck over their workers. That is their goal. They stay up late at night trying to figure it out. Late at night. Trying to figure out how to best fuck their workers, okay? That is, every large corporation is built on that idea. Because that's how they got there. That's how they became that big. It's because they successfully fucked their workers more than the other guy trying to fuck his workers. Okay? With the exception of Costco. It's the only one. Sorry, my eye hurts. No, there's occasionally one that does a few things that are better for their workers, but in general, this is basically how it works. Those are the exception to the rule. They get large stories, large write-ups, because they're like, the write-ups are basically saying, without saying, oh my God, these companies are behaving the opposite of the way capitalism is supposed to work. They're being nice to their workers. They're helping their workers. When that happens, it's a big story. People talk about it. They talk about it around the water cooler, about how, oh my God, someone treated us right. Because that's not how the system's set up. Those are the exceptions that prove the rule. So here's a question from Josh Saunders, UAW member here. Josh is. Thanks for supporting my GM union brothers and sisters. The demands are really quite simple and certainly reasonable, but nothing is reasonable to these capitalists when it comes to compensating the people who make them the profits. And that's absolutely true. As they bring in new technology that means that workers should have to work less hard, they make them work harder. And they use that technology to only benefit the people at the top who are in a boardroom that only allows sociopaths. It is a massive totalitarian structure in a corporation, and slowly, like through several filters, you have to get through several filters to slowly be filtered up to be a prime sociopath in that boardroom at the top. And if you got there, you were a complete fucking awful human being, just a sack of human garbage, and you made it to that boardroom. That is who is in that boardroom. We don't have it like Germany, where a certain number of average workers have to be on the board. No. We have a certain number of sociopaths have to be on the board, and that number is all of them. See? Alan Turpin says, Lee, could you explain why you haven't covered the massive corruption scandal at the UAW? And so Alan is raising an interesting question. Of course, he chose to do it in a dickheaded way, because he goes, where union leaders accepted bribes from the auto companies in return for foisting pay and benefit-cutting contracts on the workers they're supposed to represent. Are the arrests, indictments, and guilty pleas not news, Lee? Answer me that! And then Alan says, not that I don't love what you're doing. So rather than saying, hey, Lee, could you cover this? He decided to make it about, hey, Lee, what the fuck is with you? Not covering the goddamn thing I want you to cover. Also love what you're doing. Anyway, Alan, while I wish you'd phrased it differently, No, it's nothing to do with it not being newsworthy enough, but I don't know if you noticed, there's kind of a lot of shit to cover. Can't cover it all. I never said UAW was wonderful. But I think Alan brings up a common point, an excellent point about unions and union structures. In any large organization, there's often going to be some corruption. And when you have organizations that are as big as some of these are, sometimes, guess what? Just like in a corporation, the assholes, the sociopaths, the ones who are best able to exploit their brethren get to the top. And so you could have at UAW this awful scenario of certain people being corrupt, being assholes, trying to just enrich themselves, not working hard while they're telling their fellow workers to work hard. You could have all of that. But that doesn't, you shouldn't confuse that with let's crush unions. Let's all auto workers are awful because look at what this person at the UAW did. And now the big entities, the big oil, big auto, all of those large corporate entities, they will put out propaganda trying to get you to conflate those two. Trying to get you to think this awful person at UAW who committed a crime, who took a bribe, who sold out his brothers, that shows fuck the UAW. And they want you to throw out the baby with the bathwater. And rather than actually have a nuanced understanding of the fact that, yeah, you could have corrupt people at some of these organizations. And the better way to deal with those corrupt people is to have the better people surround them and say, hey, get the fuck out because you're not treating us the way you should be treating us. But so have a nuanced view. Understand that, yeah, there's some fucked up things that go on in some of these unions, and they should keep working to out those people and get rid of them and change the way they stand up for it. But the other thing is a lot of these massive unions have ended up in deals with corporate America that they don't want to let go of. And they have deals with Wall Street and deals with all these organizations, and they're not really working for the workers anymore. And if that's the case, then the workers should retake their union and make it about them, or they should, create other smaller unions that can grow and threaten if it's fully corrupt. But I'm just saying, don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. And no, Alan, I wasn't thinking, you're a restaurant news. I'm just kidding. I love what you do, Alan. C. Perez says, I thought I was going to hurl when you started to hurl. During that episode, I mentioned how Fox News was actually the only cable news channel that actually, on a certain issue, meaning Biden's corruption, Joe Biden's corruption, they were actually covering it more and getting it kind of right. And after I said that, I then vomited many times on the stage for Redacted Tonight, as you do. Anytime you say Fox News had it right, you got to puke on yourself. And C. Perez said he or she was also going to hurl. And then they continue, my stomach is still upset listening to all of the crimes committed by both parties. Agreed. Maria Robles says, love your program from Honduras, exposing the true right. And I'm not sure if she's saying I'm exposing the right or if I'm exposing the truth, right? Or if, I'm not sure. But either way, sure. Thank you, Maria. Very kind of you. Thanks for watching down in Honduras, another country that the U.S. has helped we put in installed. We created a coup. We installed a right-wing dickhead, and it's been horrible for the country because that's what we do. That's our thing. We've been working on it, practicing in the weekends. Just little odd extra hours here and there, little at night, little on the weekends. Install horrible rulers to other countries and watch them wreak havoc. John Weeks says, I thought bombing Syria over the fake gas attacks without congressional approval would have gotten him impeached. But as you pointed out, yeah, right. They fucking love that. They set that up. They created that. John says, would have gotten him impeached. But as you pointed out, that's the only time that they said he seemed presidential. And he got impeached. If he had gotten impeached for that, then Obama would have to be stripped of his Peace Prize. Yeah, when Trump's bombing, they celebrate him. Whenever he says, can we pull a couple of troops back? By the way, Trump, not a peaceful president. I don't want you to confuse things and think Trump has really restricted our military. But in the rare occasion that he says, yeah, let's get some of these troops out, all sides flip out. Fucking the Democrats, the Republicans, the mainstream media, all the mainstream media outlets. How dare he try to remove some of our fucking killers from overseas? God damn it. What a horrible president. That's really what upsets them. And it's amazing. They have mentioned it a little bit, but they're not even going on and on about how Trump, probably the reason Trump is trying to bend over backwards for Turkey is because he has business interests there. He has a massive Trump Towers. He collects millions of dollars with Turkey. He needs Turkey for his businesses. And that is completely corrupt. That is easily impeachable. But they don't do it for that because guess what? The Democrats have business interests around the world. Joe Biden's son was on the fucking Ukrainian oil board as vice president. So you don't think that manipulates, that has any kind of conflict of interest as to how we deal with Ukraine when we fucking put in our own people and his fucking son would... No, so they're not I did hear that on one of these mainstream outlets, but it was probably a rogue correspondent who they then locked in a room for the next 3 years. But that's not what they're impeaching Trump for, because that's okay, right? Having conflict of interest, invading countries because it turns out it would help your bottom line. That's business as usual. All right, the winner for this week is Friendly B. Friendly B, thank you for watching the show, and to collect your free download of my comedy special, go just email us at leecampledger@protonmail.com. leecampledger@protonmail.com. You can also email me there, and you can also go check out the first 10 minutes of the comedy special for free at leecampcomedyspecial.com. And if you want to keep chatting with me, listen to my podcast, Common Censored it's called. Common Censored. It's free. iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, all of the thingamajiggers that you stick in your ear holes. And I'll hang out with you on that. An hour every week. Me and Eleanor Goldfield. Check it out. Okay, keep fighting.